Hi, welcome. Enjoy the content, subscribe, and turn on notifications.
Jack got home almost at 1 in the morning. The flight he took last minute had been delayed, and the layover in Denver only added to his exhaustion. He didn't tell anyone he was coming back on Friday, 2 days earlier than planned. He wanted to surprise Claire. The seminar had ended sooner than expected, and deep down, he also wanted to see her again. He felt they had grown somewhat distant, and thought this gesture might help. Even though he was exhausted, he drove straight from the airport to their house, with a faint smile on his face, already imagining her surprised look when she opened the door. But as he pulled up in front of the house, he found it strange. Everything was dark. Total silence. Up to that point, she could be sleeping. But as soon as he got out of the car, he realized something was off. The garage was open. And Claire's car wasn't there. That made his chest tighten. He tried to rationalize. Maybe she was at a pharmacy, or with a friend, or... He went inside without turning on the lights. He went straight to the hallway and stopped there, in the dim light. The silence was so intense that every step echoed. That's when he took his phone out of his pocket and called. Claire answered on the second ring, her voice dragging, as if she had just woken up. "Hello. Hi, love. Did I wake you?" She took a deep breath, trying to sound natural. "I was sleeping, yes. I'm already closing my eyes here." Jack stayed silent for 2 seconds, controlling his breathing. "Are you at home?" Claire didn't hesitate. "Of course I am, Jack. Where else would I be at this hour?" He walked to their bedroom without responding immediately. He observed the dark room, knowing she wasn't there anywhere. "All right," he replied calmly. "I just called to hear your voice. I'm going to sleep. I'll be back on Sunday." "Oh, okay then. I love you, sleep well." "Good night, Claire." He hung up before she could repeat anything. And he stood there, still holding the phone. Every word she said throbbed in his head. She was lying, and she had no idea he was in their bedroom while she claimed to be in bed sleeping. It hit him with a force that knocked the ground out from under him. It wasn't doubt anymore. It wasn't intuition. It was a lie. Cold. Direct. Effortless. Jack took a deep breath, put his phone away, and sat on the edge of the stairs. He ran his hand over his face. He tried to remember the last time Claire had been transparent with him. Now it made sense: the distance, the work dinners, in excess, the sudden mood changes, the strange laughs on the phone that stopped as soon as he approached. Nothing was by chance. The house felt like an empty theater. He looked around, and everything carried the weight of something that once was. A place where he had built a story, but which now seemed like the set of another life. And the worst part was that she lied without hesitation. With a calm voice, as if she were really lying there, wrapped in the blanket. But she wasn't. And he knew it. As he walked through the living room in silence, Jack stopped when he noticed something on the coffee table. A wristwatch. Large, gold, with a blue dial and black leather strap. An extravagant model, too noticeable to go unnoticed. He slowly bent down and picked up the object with both hands, as if afraid to touch the truth. He recognized it immediately. It was the same watch he had seen on Derek Coleman's wrist, Claire's boss, during a company dinner the previous year. No one else wore something so flashy. And at that moment, everything inside Jack clicked into place like a sharp blow. Derek had been there. In his house. And for some reason, he left the watch behind. It wasn't speculation anymore. It was proof. The betrayal had a face, a name, and now, a forgotten object that screamed everything Claire had tried to hide with her sleepy voice just minutes before. He lay down without taking off his shoes. He stared at the ceiling. His heart, which had been racing before, now felt heavy. It didn't hurt. Not yet. But something inside him was changing. He had always been a fair, calm man, someone who preferred dialogue. But this time, it wouldn't be with words. If she had the courage to lie like that, he would have the courage to show the truth. And no one would see it coming. Just as she never imagined, he was just a few feet away, hearing every lie, with his eyes wide open in the dark. Jack woke up early that Saturday with the plan already clear in his mind. The forgotten watch left on the table the night before was still there, like a silent witness to the betrayal. He stared at the object for a few seconds before putting it in a small box and storing it at the bottom of the desk drawer. He knew it didn't need to be shown. Words would be unnecessary in the face of what was about to happen. He sat for a few minutes, gathered his thoughts, and started making calls. So that Saturday morning, with the calm voice of someone who didn't want to raise suspicions, Jack called Claire and said he had made an online purchase and that the product would be delivered to the house that day. He asked if she would be there to receive it. Claire, still with that casual tone, replied that she would leave early and spend the day with her sisters since it was Saturday and they had planned to go shopping and have lunch together. Jack pretended to hesitate for a few seconds and then asked if she could be home around 8 o'clock to ensure the delivery was received. Claire confirmed without much thought, said she would figure it out and be back by that time. Jack thanked her and hung up. As soon as the call ended, he smiled slightly and stood up. Now that he knew the exact time frame when the house would be empty, he put the plan he had been devising since the early hours of the morning into action. The first call was to Claire's parents. He said he had prepared a surprise tribute for her at home, something intimate but very special. He mentioned a celebration for dedication to volunteering, citing a social project Claire had participated in years ago. It was just once, when she helped organize a clothing drive during a harsh winter, but it sounded noble enough to convince anyone. Her mother was touched by the gesture. Her father, more reserved, thanked him for the invitation and said they would be there. Jack kept his voice steady, measured, as if nothing was out of place. And the more acceptance he got from the guests, the stronger his conviction grew. He also called Claire's two sisters, Sarah and Michelle. He repeated the same story, using words that matched the image everyone had of the helpful daughter, always involved in good causes. Both were excited. They said they would buy something nice for the occasion. Then came her friends, Amanda, Lisa, Rachel. Jack knew exactly who to invite. All those whom Claire cherished, those she felt comfortable with. He did everything with precision. One by one, the invitations were accepted. No one suspected anything. Everyone thought they would be celebrating a generous, dedicated woman admired for her kindness. Jack listened to each confirmation with a cutting calmness. As the list took shape, Jack thought about another key piece of the plan. The main target wasn't just Claire. Derek also needed to be involved. And with him, his wife, Julie Coleman. She was the most sensitive point of the strategy. If Julie showed up, everything would take on another dimension. And for that, Jack needed to use the right story. So Jack called her with an enthusiastic and respectful tone. "Julie, how great to talk to you. I have wonderful news. I organized a surprise for Claire here at home. A little tribute. But there will also be a second part, which involves you and Derek." "Derek? But he traveled yesterday. He's only coming back Monday." Jack knew Derek had lied. "Yes, I know. But I managed to convince him to come back early. He loved the idea. I bought the ticket, arranged everything with him. Don't tell anyone. It's going to be a double surprise." Julie laughed on the other end of the line, a light, proud laugh. "My God, how sweet. He never told me anything." "Exactly. That's the idea. A night to celebrate you both. And especially, Claire." "Of course. I'll be there. I wouldn't miss it for anything." He thanked her and hung up. He left the phone on the table and stood still for a few seconds. That conversation sealed the plan. Julie would be Claire's mirror that night. And when the reflection appeared, the true image would reveal itself. Jack didn't need to raise his voice, didn't need to fight. He just needed to show. Let everyone see with their own eyes who Claire and Derek really were behind their professional smiles and polite words. He bought pre-made snacks, ordered some desserts, and purchased various drinks. He didn't want anything elaborate. The idea was to make it look like a simple get-together. In the backyard, he discreetly organized everything. A large table, enough chairs, soft lights hanging. He asked the guests to enter through the back when they arrived and stay silent until the right moment. He used the argument that the surprise would only work if Claire was caught off guard. The riskiest part of the plan still depended on one variable: Claire couldn't know he was home. And more than that, she had to believe he was still traveling. Based on the conversation from the night before, he knew she believed that. That gave him the time and space for her to repeat the mistake. Jack was almost certain she would return that night with Derek. Maybe not to repeat what they had done before, but they would be together. She thought the house was empty. And that was all he needed. The day passed slowly. Each minute felt longer than the last. Jack took care of every detail without losing focus. He checked the names on the list, prepared the ambient audio, left the front door unlocked. Everything was ready for a silent spectacle. A single act of exposure, where the masks would fall without him saying a word. Jack then picked up his phone again and started sending messages to the guests. He asked everyone to arrive at 6 o'clock sharp, but with one important condition: they should park their cars on parallel streets and walk to the house. He explained that keeping the surprise required Claire to never suspect anything as she approached. He didn't want to see relatives or friends' cars crowded in front of the house, let alone honking or loud conversations at the gate. The idea was for everyone to enter quietly through the back gate, which he left unlocked. No one hesitated. Everyone agreed enthusiastically, thinking they would be part of an unforgettable celebratory moment. And they would, just for very different reasons than they imagined. Jack spent the late afternoon fine-tuning every detail as if setting the stage for a theatrical performance. He set up the table in the backyard with a variety of snacks, sodas, some beers, and some simple desserts. He carefully arranged the seating, managing the growing anxiety in his chest every minute. From time to time, he checked his phone, glanced at the clock, and responded to messages from the guests, reinforcing the instructions: absolute silence upon arrival, cars far from the house, entrance through the back gate. No one should make noise, clap, or turn on lights. The surprise had to be perfect. The first guests began arriving right at 6 o'clock, exactly as planned. They walked in silence, some even taking off their shoes upon entering, such was their respect for the plan. Jack greeted them with a quick gesture and directed them to the backyard. Some whispered among themselves, curious about how Claire would react to this unexpected tribute. Everyone was there with the best intentions, ready to be moved by another demonstration of love and recognition. What no one knew was that this night wouldn't bring applause, but rather a revelation that would forever be etched in everyone's memory. As the backyard filled discreetly, Jack reviewed what he would do. He knew Claire believed he was out of town. He also knew she expected to find the house empty when she returned. And that was exactly what he wanted. A clear field for her to repeat the mistake, to fall into her own illusion of impunity. Around 7:30, Jack positioned himself in the hallway. From where he stood, he could partially see the living room. The rest he observed through the crack in the curtain of the glass door separating the backyard from the interior of the house. His phone was already in his hand, camera on, everything ready to record the exact moment. The lock turned. The front door opened slowly. They entered laughing, with that typical intimacy of people who believe they are far from any danger. Derek held Claire by the waist, and she lightly pushed him away, smiling. They exchanged kisses before even closing the door. Claire took off her coat and threw it on the couch. Derek began unbuttoning his shirt with an almost adolescent haste. The two were completely absorbed. Living the moment with the confidence of those who think they are shielded by the darkness of night. Jack, standing in the hallway, felt his heart pounding hard. But he didn't hesitate. He waited for the exact moment. As soon as Derek took another step forward and Claire began pulling him by the hand, Jack firmly slid the glass door open. The sound of the track cut through the room. The silence that followed was absolute. All the guests, standing in the softly lit backyard, stared at the scene in front of them as if the world had frozen for a few seconds. Julie, Derek's wife, was the first to react. She screamed her husband's name as if her throat had torn apart. She took 2 steps forward and stopped, overwhelmed by the sight before her. Derek turned pale. Claire's eyes widened, she turned in panic and tried to grab the coat thrown on the couch, covering part of her body. But it was too late. The image was already exposed. And now, all the people who thought they knew this couple watched the true spectacle behind the facades. Claire tried to run to the bedroom, but Julie's screams, her mother's gaze, her father's look of disgust, the blatant disappointment in her sister's eyes, all of it made her freeze. She turned to try to say something, but no words came out. Shame poured down her face faster than any tears. Jack remained motionless. He filmed everything steadily, without saying a word. There was no speech, no accusation. Just the truth, raw, exactly as she had chosen to reveal it. And now, there was no way to erase it. Julie cried, but it was a cry mixed with anger and frustration. She screamed at Derek words he had never heard come out of her mouth, words that seemed stuck in her throat for years. He tried to explain, stuttered, but everything he said only worsened his image. Claire stood frozen in the middle of the living room, trying to cover herself, but it was just a mechanical gesture. It no longer mattered. The shame grew heavier with every passing second. Her sisters exchanged shocked looks, unable to process what they were seeing. Their mother, in tears, covered her face and turned away, unable to look at her daughter. Their father remained motionless, his expression hard, as if trying to maintain the little dignity left in the face of an unthinkable scene. Jack remained there, in front of the open door, his phone still pointed, but no longer recording. He slowly lowered his arm and looked directly at Claire. She tried to say something, but her voice wouldn't come out. He locked eyes with her for a few seconds, and in that silence between them, it became clear there was nothing left to say. She knew what it meant. She knew that everything ended there. And the cruelest part was that Jack didn't yell, didn't break anything, didn't beg for explanations. He just showed. He gave her exactly what she deserved, the living, present, exposed consequence. Claire finally ran to the bedroom. Julie still spoke to Derek, now screaming. The guests began to disperse slowly, some embarrassed, others still in shock. Claire's father left without saying goodbye. Her mother, dragged by her daughters, left in silence. And amidst the trail of muffled voices and tense glances, Jack sat at the backyard table. He grabbed a beer, opened it calmly, and took the first sip as if closing a chapter. Claire appeared in the hallway a few minutes later, dressed, her face smeared with makeup. She tried to approach, but Jack raised his hand, signaling he didn't want to talk. She insisted. She said it wasn't what it looked like. That he was always absent, always busy with work, and that she felt lonely. Jack stood up, looked directly at her, and replied firmly, "You had 7 years to tell me that. You chose to lie and bring another man into our house. The blame for your choice isn't mine." She was left speechless. He turned his back and went upstairs. He locked the bedroom door and threw himself onto the bed, still dressed, staring at the ceiling as if searching in the dark for some good memory that was still worth holding on to. Nothing came. The next day, the house was silent. Claire left before dawn, without leaving a note, message, or apology. Jack spent hours standing, looking at his own hands. It was strange how the body kept moving forward, even with the soul in pieces. He got up, took a shower, tidied the kitchen, threw the leftovers of the party in the trash. As if he were cleaning not just the house, but the history they had built together. He called a friend at the company and asked for some time off. He said he needed to take care of his own life for a few days. He disconnected from everything. He set his phone aside and spent the night in silence, in the living room, facing his own decision. The pain was there, but there was also a certain relief. As if, by exposing everything, he had ripped out a tumor with his own hands. 2 days later, Claire appeared at the door of the house where everything fell apart. Her swollen eyes betrayed the sleepless nights, but Jack remained firm, immobile, looking at her without giving her any space. She asked for just a few minutes. She said she wasn't coming back to beg, that she understood the magnitude of the damage she caused. Her voice trembled. She told him she had requested a transfer at the company, that she was moving to another city, far away. According to her, she couldn't face her colleagues, the looks, the whispers in the hallways. She said she wanted to start over from scratch. She tried to explain that what happened between her and Derek didn't go beyond that night. That it was an impulse, a mistake she had been regretting inside even before being exposed. She said that, since the next day, the two hadn't spoken again. Derek, on the other hand, had separated from Julie. His wife had packed her bags and left without looking back. But Claire assured there was no continuation there. No hidden romance. No attempt to carry on with that. Just guilt. And regret. Jack listened to everything with the contained expression of someone who had already heard too much. He didn't respond immediately. He looked at the floor for a few seconds, took a deep breath, and calmly said that regret only comes when the consequence knocks on your door. That choices are made when no one is watching. And that now, she was trying to clean something she dirtied with her own hands. Claire tried to ask if there was any chance in the future, if time would heal. He interrupted her, saying that when trust dies, love dies with it. And that the image of her with Derek wouldn't leave his memory because she was the one who brought that into their home. She stood still for a few seconds. Waiting. As if hoping to hear something else. But Jack simply crossed his arms and said, "You made your choice. I just showed you what you tried to hide." Claire nodded silently, turned her back, and left. No drama. No promises. No farewell. In the days that followed, Jack resumed his routine with a new kind of peace. He tidied the house, rearranged the drawers, removed old photos. Every object put back in place was like a sign that that phase had ended. He took a leave from work for a while, went for more walks, reconnected with old friends, and allowed himself to relearn how to live in silence. He felt a strange relief. As if, after the storm, there was space to breathe again. Julie contacted him some time later. The message was short but sincere, "Thank you for opening my eyes." Jack replied. They met for coffee at a discreet place. They talked as if they understood each other's pain without needing to explain. She had also started a process of change. She sold the house and was temporarily living with her sister. She rarely spoke about Derek, and Jack rarely spoke about Claire. The past was there, but it no longer controlled the conversation. Jack learned, in that pain, that the truth is the greatest gift someone can give to themselves. The betrayal pushed him out of a story where he had been deceived, but it freed him to write a new one, where every step was his own. With Julie, there were no games. And that was enough. Because what he wanted most from that point on was exactly that, peace, clarity, and the certainty that he would never lose himself again in someone else's lie. Suspicious of your wife or daughter-in-law? Don't go through what we saw in the video. Check the link in the comments and get the ebook with valuable tips and investigator-approved sites to clear your doubts. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss any updates. See you next time.